In the world of tech startups, ambition is currency, and the truth is negotiable. This is the story of a company that built itself on promises it couldn't keep, and a man who became the face of that illusion. His name is Stefan. He was a product marketing manager at Everlight, a rising AI star on the brink of global fame. But behind the hype, the dashboards, and the glossy all-hands decks was something much darker. Welcome to All Hands, All Lies. Archwell Dynamics was once the darling of enterprise software innovation. Built around an AI-first ethos, it offered a suite of productivity platforms, the flagship being Linkstream, an intelligent task orchestration system that integrated scheduling, AI meeting summarization, workload prediction, emotional analytics, and team performance forecasting. Its ambition was bold to become the AI core of the future hybrid workplace. By 2024, they boasted integrations with Google Workspace, Slack, and Salesforce. But beneath this polished exterior, the reality was crumbling. Linkstream's core algorithm had reached its limit. User customization caused fragmentation, and the AI's predictive modeling fell apart in complex multi-time zone teams. IPO dreams and the looming collapse. Archwell had quietly prepped for IPO in early 2025. Investor decks projected hockey stick growth and expansive TAM, total addressable market models. But revenue was slipping. Enterprise clients churned after 6 months, and feature requests far outpaced delivery. The company was trapped, too exposed to admit its challenges, too desperate to slow its sprint toward listing. The role of product marketing, Stefan's world. Stefan's department, product marketing, was the megaphone of Archwell. They crafted launch campaigns, framed quarterly narratives, and interfaced with sales enablement to push strategic messaging. Their success was visible. LinkedIn posts from Stefan's team often went viral. But that success birthed envy. The go-to-market ops team, headed by Lena Hart, had long been skeptical of Stefan's glossy presentations. Lena resented how her behind-the-scenes work, CRM accuracy, funnel ops, sales cycle streamlining, was overshadowed by brand candy. When Stefan pitched a $200K microsite campaign for the new AI WorkPulse feature, Lena lobbied finance to reject it, citing no measurable pipeline value. Her private Slack group, codenamed Reality First, shared anonymized data, revealing WorkPulse wasn't even functioning correctly. Lena believed the marketing narrative was inflating expectations and putting salespeople in impossible positions. Why they're behind. Engineering was overwhelmed. Everlight, the anticipated AI-driven workflow companion, was a Frankenstein's monster of legacy code, rushed AI modules, and a bug-ridden interface. It regularly crashed in beta environments. Offshore devs warned about architecture debt, yet it was still being positioned as Q2's savior. Procurement delays, the sunset of a key AI modeling partner, and rising cloud costs from AWS throttling had pushed Stefan's timeline into chaos. The cover-up. Internally, Stefan's team knew Everlight was failing, but to the board and external world, Everlight was not only on track, it was already delivering value. This lie was carefully orchestrated. Staged testimonials from internal teams, AI-generated user feedback slides that were never validated, a faked customer spotlight video, scripted by marketing, voiced by a Fiverr actor. What no one knew, the team had diverted budget from QA to fund influencer seeding and LinkedIn video campaigns. Why Stefan stays and builds Plan B. Stefan's hands weren't clean, but neither was his soul beyond saving. He stayed because of fear, of financial ruin, of professional exile, but also because he believed in people, if not the company. His plan B wasn't to fix the product. It was to construct a parallel narrative that the C-suite would accept. He repurposed internal struggles into learning curves, delays into strategic reflections, and missing features into modular adaptability. He framed failure as iterative maturity, the team dynamics. His team was splintering. Alex, his senior copywriter, refused to polish another false user quote. Nisha from design created slide mock-ups with watermark disclaimers out of protest. Marina had already begun interviewing externally, but Stefan needed them, just long enough to deliver the all-hands. Because if this all-hands landed, Series D would close. IPO dreams would stay intact, and maybe, just maybe, he could still rewrite the truth. Stefan stared at his laptop screen at 2:14 a.m., the cursor blinking at the end of a sentence he couldn't bring himself to finish. The slide read, Everlight, delivering enterprise efficiency at scale. He hovered his mouse over the period. It might as well have been a dagger. He knew it was a lie, and he knew why he had to say it. If Stefan told the truth, if he walked onto that stage and admitted Everlight was a flaming wreckage of broken promises, missed deadlines, and design debt, the consequences would be catastrophic. The IPO would stall. The Series D funding would evaporate. The layoffs wouldn't stop at devs. They'd come for marketing next. In a nightmarish daydream, he imagined it, silence filling the auditorium as he confessed. Leadership nodding, not in understanding, but in cold corporate calculation. A quiet Slack message from HR. The lockout from Google Workspace. The industry blackball. So he chose the alternative. He would lie. And lie well. Enemies within. What made it worse, he wasn't just dodging bullets from outside. Inside his own department, factions were forming. Priya, the data storytelling lead, had aligned herself with Lena from Ops. She started feeding leaks to finance, selectively edited data showing declining engagement with Everlight from pilot teams. Her new dashboard mock-ups emphasized trend lines in red, down arrows, churn bubbles. Just showing the real picture, she said with a smug smile. But Stefan saw through it. She was angling for his role. If the Everlight narrative failed, the board would want accountability. Priya, with her cross-functional metrics and safe political ties, would be the natural successor. Drama in the ranks. His own team sensed the fracture. Alex, still bitter, was sharing screenshots of their old campaign drafts with snarky captions in a private group chat. Stefan accidentally stumbled on it after using Alex's laptop during a live dry run. The betrayal scorched. Marina, despite her empathy, kept her distance. She was preparing for the worst. Stefan found a resignation draft in the printer tray once. She never brought it up, and neither did he. Preparation for the lie. Stefan crafted the business plan slide deck like a novelist writes fiction. He sourced numbers from different quarters and built a new growth curve. He included non-binding LOIs as early wins. He screenshotted Slack reactions and pasted them into a team excitement collage. He pitched a bold AI-powered pivot. Everlight as a flexible AI layer instead of a full product. It didn't exist, but sounded visionary. To justify it, he cited McKinsey reports and Gartner predictions. It was a Frankenstein of borrowed authority and personal desperation. The fight for resources. 2 days before the all-hands, Stefan faced the senior leadership. He pleaded not for truth, but for optics. If we delay the all-hands, he said, we look weak. If we cancel it, investors panic. But if we land this story, one clean story, funding comes. We breathe again. He won the nod from CFO David Wang, not out of belief, but necessity. We can't afford failure optics, David muttered. The battle was won. The war inside Stefan, far from over. And as he closed his MacBook, he felt it. The anxiety, the nausea, the crushing weight of guilt. Because now, the lie was written. It only needed to be spoken. The day of the all-hands arrived not with clarity, but with fog. literally and metaphorically. San Francisco's skyline was barely visible through the morning haze as Stefan walked toward Archwell's headquarters, clutching his coffee like a talisman. His reflection in the glass doors startled him. Pale, eyes sunken, tie uneven. He looked like a man preparing for trial, not a presentation. Inside, the building buzzed with anxious energy. The lobby had been transformed. Branded backdrops, cheerful signage touting Archwell 2.0, and camera crews rigging lights. It looked like a product launch. It was a eulogy wrapped in a costume. The scripted spectacle. The rehearsal was surreal. A producer from an external agency barked stage directions, while a freelance speech coach tightened Stefan's phrasing on the prompter. Say empower instead of optimize. Softer, more human. Slides had been locked. The customer spotlight video was cued. The user feedback montage, a stitched-together sequence of stock footage and AI-generated voiceovers, played like a commercial for a company that didn't exist. When the video ended, silence fell. Not applause, not critique, just silence. Stefan felt the weight of it, how everyone in the room was complicit, no one willing to be the first to blink. Backstage, the Whisper Network. Lena was absent from the rehearsal, but Stefan knew she was nearby. Her team had been unusually quiet on Slack. Priya hadn't posted in hash dashboards in 2 days. It meant something was brewing. They were giving him rope. At lunch, he sat alone in the green room, watching Marina from across the catered spread. She was whispering with Alex. When she looked up, her expression said everything. Pity, not respect. He'd become the man they talked about in hushed tones, not the visionary, the liability, the panic attack. It hit during sound check. As the AV technician adjusted his mic and the walk-on music thudded in the background, Stefan felt his throat close. His vision narrowed, sweat slicked his palms. The technician said something, maybe a question about volume, but it was drowned in the rush of blood in Stefan's ears. He turned, walked briskly off stage, and locked himself in a nearby conference room. There, behind frosted glass, he broke. Shoulders heaving, chest tightening, the tears came fast and hot, not from fear of being caught, but from the grotesque clarity that he was about to succeed in a lie so well crafted it could survive him. He stared at his reflection in the black screen of a dormant monitor. His lips formed the words he couldn't say aloud. What if I just told the truth? The unexpected confidant, a soft knock interrupted the spiral. It was Marina. She didn't ask if he was okay. She didn't pretend this was normal. Instead, she handed him a folded piece of paper. No preamble. I wrote this in case you needed a reason, she said, then turned and left. On the paper, a single sentence. If you tell the truth, maybe we all get to start over. Stefan held the note for a long time. In that moment, the stage felt 1,000 miles away. But the mic was still clipped to his shirt. The countdown was still ticking. Curtain call. As he stood behind the stage curtain, staring at the timer counting down from 30 seconds, Stefan had made no decision. Not really. There was the lie, neatly cued and ready. And there was the truth, wild and sharp and radioactive. The voice of the host echoed through the auditorium. Please welcome our head of product marketing, Stefan Cho. He stepped into the spotlight. Applause. Light. Silence. The script on the prompter waited. But Stefan didn't look at it. He looked at the crowd. At Marina. At the team who'd followed him through shadows and sleight of hand. And then he opened his mouth. The spotlight hit like a silent missile. Stefan stepped into its radius, a faint tremble masked by the weight of tailored confidence. The crowd was hungry for a hero, and he was about to deliver them one, crafted from smoke and slides. Team, today I'm proud to announce that Everlight is not just keeping pace with innovation, we're defining the future of intelligent automation. The scripted triumph, the spoke of breakthrough AI functions, features that didn't exist beyond prototype specs, of market penetration, powered more by smoke and mirror partnerships than real traction. customer satisfaction scores, fabricated using internally seeded data from beta testers, promised equity for positive feedback. The applause was thunderous, but behind that roar was a silence, the kind that follows betrayal. Stefan knew the true numbers. Engineering was 6 months behind schedule. The AI co-pilot failed to meet basic compliance standards. Data pulled for investor pitch decks had been cherry-picked by the growth strategy team, an open secret buried under layers of version truth. The dark secret surface. What the audience didn't know, and what Stefan forced himself to forget, was buried deeper. The Everlight Alpha demo shown to execs was pre-recorded, its interface controlled manually by QA testers behind the scenes. Senior leadership had quietly paid hush money to 2 former employees who threatened to go public about unethical data harvesting through Everlight's sentiment engine. Legal had signed off on the NDA, but only after threats were made to revoke the employees' remaining equity. The beta testing program had deliberately excluded markets with stricter data privacy laws to avoid compliance scrutiny. All hidden, all condoned, colleagues and collusion. Backstage, Stefan felt the noose tighten. He wasn't alone in this deception. Priya, his rival in strategic insights, had actively lobbied to get her own product roadmap greenlit instead of Stefan's. Her numbers painted his project as bloated and underperforming. She had even leaked internal performance data to Lena in finance, suggesting Everlight was bleeding cost, then feigned support to Stefan's face. Meanwhile, Marina had begun documenting everything in a private vault. Email chains, Jira logs, voice memos of steering committee meetings where execs openly discussed adjusting narratives to keep investor momentum alive. She was building a case. One she never intended to use, unless forced, fallout in real time. As Stefan walked off the stage to a standing ovation, he passed the CTO, who whispered, "Beautiful work. Don't open Slack for a while. Trust me." The dread hit instantly. Within hours, 2 internal memos leaked. One showed Everlight's predictive models had failed critical QA tests. Another detailed customer churn, being masked by renewal delays. Then came the whistleblower post. "We faked it until we couldn't," a product manager's confession. Anonymous, but scathing. It went viral on LinkedIn. Company in crisis. Everlight's leadership scrambled. PR went on lockdown. An internal memo told staff not to engage externally. Investors called emergency meetings. The Series D round halted. The company's planned IPO quietly postponed. The worst part, the internal Slack revealed something even more damning. A secret confidence file circulated among senior VPs, grading employees based on loyalty, not performance. Marina had access. So did Priya. Stefan's name? Red flagged. Reckoning and resignation. HR sent out terminations wrapped in organizational realignment. 1/3 of the marketing team was let go. Stefan's suspension was swift. He wasn't surprised. He stared at the presentation deck late into the night. The clicker still on his desk like a smoking gun. The company wanted a lie. He gave it to them. But no one told him how long that lie would live. Marina's final message echoed in his head. "We sold a future we were never building. Now we must live in it." The hours after the all-hands were like a collective exhale across Everlight's campuses. There was applause, congratulations, Slack emojis, champagne, on the surface, jubilation. But in the quiet corners of private DMs and unspoken glances, there was something else, suspicion, doubt. The first crack appeared 48 hours later. An anonymous Medium post titled, "The Real Story Behind Everlight's AI" began circulating. It was carefully written, technical, and packed with evidence. Internal schema diagrams, scrubbed emails, screenshots of testing results that contradicted Stefan's presentation. The author? Unconfirmed, but everyone had a guess. Whistleblowing and witch hunts. Legal called it an act of sabotage. Leadership suspected a coordinated leak, and a full investigation was launched. Employees were pulled into sudden HR interviews. Hard drives were audited. VPN logs scanned. Marina was placed on administrative leave, with immediate effect. Internally, factions formed. Those loyal to the narrative, like Priya and her allies, defended the message. Others whispered that Stefan had crossed an ethical line from which there was no return. Stefan, meanwhile, found himself suddenly isolated. Emails went unanswered. A meeting with the CFO was cancelled without explanation. His direct reports began looping in Priya instead of him. The second all hands. A week later, Everlight held another all hands. This time, the mood was different, somber, defensive. The CEO opened with, "Transparency has always been a core value of ours." No one believed it. Stefan wasn't asked to speak. In fact, his name wasn't mentioned at all. He sat in the back of the auditorium, practically invisible, surrounded by silence. Internal collapse. Customers began asking questions. So did investors. Then came the call from the SEC, followed by a class action lawsuit filed by former employees who had invested portions of their compensation into company stock options. Everlight's Series D lead investor publicly pulled out. Within days, term sheets dried up. The company slashed 30% of its staff. Another 15% resigned voluntarily. The CTO stepped down. So did the VP of Marketing. HR initiated a wave of performance-related exits. Stefan's project was cancelled quietly, his access revoked. The confrontation. Stefan confronted Priya outside a WeWork meeting room. She didn't flinch. "You think this is my fault?" he asked. "You said yes," she replied. "We all did, but you held the mic." Emotional reckoning. That night, Stefan opened his laptop and rewatched the all-hands recording. Frame by frame, his own voice describing things that never existed. It felt like watching a stranger. He wrote a resignation letter but never sent it. Instead, he waited. And then came the email from legal. Subject line, notice of separation. His role had been eliminated. No thank you, no exit interview, only silence. 3 years on. The dust had long settled. The headlines faded. But for Stefan, the echo of that all-hands meeting lived on, like a song that refused to stop playing in an empty room. Everlight didn't die, but it didn't live either. The IPO never happened. The startup pivoted twice. First to AI-integrated analytics, then to enterprise-compliant software. Neither gained traction. A skeleton crew kept the name afloat while C-suite leaders quietly resigned or pursued new opportunities. Stefan's fallout. For nearly a year, Stefan was untouchable. His NDA barred him from speaking, but his silence was its own indictment. Recruiters ghosted. Former colleagues avoided eye contact. Even Marina, who had since left and joined a European data ethics startup, rejected his LinkedIn message. He started freelancing consulting, mostly small projects for obscure clients with low expectations. Occasionally, someone would recognize him. They always asked the same question: what was it like, lying to everyone like that? He never had a good answer, redemption or something like it. Eventually, Stefan moved to Lisbon, not for a job, for anonymity. He took up writing. A memoir? Not quite. It was a fictional novel, but the characters were painfully familiar. A jaded PM, a vengeful analyst, a company built on a beautiful lie. Publishers passed, but one indie imprint said yes. The book quietly gained traction in tech circles. It was quoted in whistleblower forums, passed around in late-night Slack channels. One VC firm even invited Stefan to speak, anonymously, on an ethics panel titled, "When Culture Becomes Cult." He declined. Meanwhile, at Everlight, the company rebranded as Lumova. Same tech, new promises. Priya had risen to VP of Product, but an internal review leaked showing she had signed off on the original manipulated data Stefan once delivered. A second scandal brewed, smaller, quieter, but devastating in its own way. The last conversation. One night, Marina emailed Stefan. Just a single line. "Sometimes I wonder if we could have told the truth and survived it." Stefan replied, "We didn't survive the lie either." They never spoke again.